Hi, and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I'm Ozma in the Dark, she, they pronouns, and I'm here with a rather chill episode and the wonderful co-hosts with me. How are you doing, Christy?
I'm doing fine, just getting over a cold, so if I sound a little rough.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not something worse.
Yeah.
How about you, pronouns?
Oh, her, crazy bitch. Uh,
I'm not sure that's a pronoun, but that's fine. Perfect. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. He, him pronouns.
Okay, and I figured today we could talk about just chat about trans culture, because there is well, I mean, subculture technically, but
yeah.
there's a culture involved, and there's I mean, like with all cultures, there's good and bad things, although and things that are neither good nor bad. Actually, most things are neither good nor bad. So, about any
No.
culture.
See, now I wanted to ask some questions about it.
Okay.
Because I'm interested in where we're defining the lines here for culture. And I mean, really, that's your decision. So,
Yeah, so there's, because we're all dealing with, or a lot of us are dealing, have dealt with various types of transitioning. There's various terms or whatnot that get thrown around commonly on trans Twitter that aren't necessarily thrown about other places. Like egg is the first one that comes to mind. Like if someone's at their egg their egg face, or someone's
yeah.
egg, it means that that was before they realized they were trans or before they came out. One or the other. I didn't socialize much until recently, so I might even get some of these wrong because I was very out of any sort of social stuff. That does that sound right, Christy?
Oh, yeah, it's egg hatchling bird phoenix.
Wait, there's a whole. Okay.
There's a phoenix? What's this?
Okay. I did not know there were that many stages. I usually see the egg. Egg gets thrown around like a lot more than the other three. I'll be honest.
Well, yeah, hatchling obviously is someone who just came out, and bird is someone who's on their journey, and phoenix is the final form, whatever that takes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, I'd heard egg, and I always, in my little mind, the imagery was that the rest of the world doesn't get to see what you are yet.
Oh, there's lots. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure in this case the egg came first.
Well, I would argue in the other case the egg came first as well, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess it's the sort of thing where there's a lot of stuff transitioning. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, looking back, you should have known type thing, and so you're just like, oh, I was always trans, but this is before my transness hatched.
Well, I'm sure I've mentioned before that my high school girlfriend reminded me I was out in high school, and I don't remember it as such, but my diaries kind of show it, and she proved it by just asking me what my favorite outfit was.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, obviously there are experiences like that, and with all of society the conditioning that happens with society, because like
Yeah.
if you're told you're something that you're not enough, it's easy to believe it.
Yeah. Although, yeah, I mean, my parents told me I was a loser. I'm pretty much still a loser.
I would
Yeah.
disagree there. I wouldn't
Yeah.
consider you a loser, like, at all.
No.
But I mean, obviously, some of that attitude comes from accomplishment-focused societies.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just one part of it. Obviously, there's stuff like the Matrix being a trans allegory has been mentioned a lot in trans Twitter. It's just now hitting a bunch of cis people.
Yeah, it's funny. It's only like a couple months ago that Lily Wachowski finally actually just came out and said it.
Yeah.
But it was in response to Elon Musk and Trump. What's it? Ivanka thing. Brain damage. No, brain damage is her father. Ivanka Trump and Elon Musk sitting and talking about red pill, and Lily's, fuck both of you.
Yeah,
But the Matrix as an allegory for trans.
Yes.
Transitioning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's
I hadn't heard that before. It seems to work pretty well from what I'm thinking about it. I mean,
yeah, because like there's the especially if you have physical dysphoria, like it's really easy to relate to the unreality that Neo experiences, where everything just doesn't feel right. Like that's a whole big thing in the Matrix. And I mean, the plot of the Matrix.
I don't subscribe to that being a necessary part of being trans.
No.
But a near universal experience with it, yes. But
yeah.
And yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply that. It's a allegory for universal things, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were trying to describe some of the feelings that they were experiencing, and that may have been a part of the relation, that the reasoning for the storytelling, that, and obviously one of the characters was going to be trans, and fuck, I forgot her name. Not like this. That character was going to be a different gender in reality versus the Matrix, because the Matrix kind of shows you who you really are in terms of your mind, but that doesn't necessarily match the physical stuff. There's that, and the story is an allegory for finding yourself. The story is about finding yourself. The Matrix. That's why the story is not actually set up like a hero's journey. Savaris did a good breakdown on that part of it, because it's true. It's about Neo wins when he accepts that he's Neo, that he's the one. That's what causes him to win. He loses in every other aspect, but finding himself is what causes him to win, not him finally defeating. He didn't finally defeat the boss when he won a fight or whatnot, which is normally where hero's journey would end. Him being Agent Smith the first time should have been when the hero's journey thing ended and, walk off to victory. But instead, it wasn't till he finally accepted that he was the one that he was, well, that and the kiss.
The my friend was, because we watched, I saw The Matrix in my house. I didn't see it in the theater. My friend who brought it over was wondering why I was crying so much at the end of it, and I'm like, I don't know.
But I mean, yeah, and in terms of that, I mean, it's not the only trans allegory. It's not like it's the only trans allegory ever. I obviously am a big fan of wow, I keep forgetting the name of the second book. I always remember the name of the third book, which is Ozma of Oz.
Land of Oz.
What?
I wonder why you remember that.
Land of Oz.
Yeah, Land of Oz, because that's another trans allegory. That's just because being turned into a witch as like being kidnapped and turned by a witch into a guy, and then finding out she was really Princess Ozma of Oz. That's an allegory for transitioning, if I ever heard one, in a book written in 1905. And yeah, like, you get the impression that these feelings, it helps seeing older stuff where you're just like, yeah, those feelings have been around forever, and like it's just taken a while for them to be recognized.
I find it odd because I knew, it's one of those things I knew at various times, but I pushed away.
Yeah.
Or not. Yeah, more or less forgot about it. And for someone who doesn't forget anything, well, that's not entirely true. I forget where I put my socks, but
yeah, but I mean, that's socks. Socks aren't important.
But I don't. I mean, it's strange. I mean, coming out at my age, it's kind of one of those. I'd come out twice before, as I've been reminded. Don't remember the second time either much. I mean, I know it existed and I know when, but it's always a trip. This is the one that finally took, because I gathered a lot of trans people around me.
Yeah.
So I'd have
now
to
you've got me thinking about literature I've read in the past and things like that, where a girl who goes off and she starts having adventures and ends up dressing as a boy and passing as a boy and goes off with pirates and that sort of thing. And I just went, they just don't know how to write girls, and just made her a boy to get past it. I mean, even when I was a kid, that's how I saw that. But that may have been an allegory that I was just missing.
Yeah. And it's a mixture of the two, because
I mean, later she becomes a girl again, you know.
Yeah, it's a mixture of the two, because people read stories and people hear stories, and that gives them an idea of what to do. So it's not all not all authors who do that are trying to make a trans allegory, they didn't even know most of the time about transition related stuff. But it's just,
well,
it depends on how the story goes out, plays out, because there are some of those stories where they actually don't know how to write women, and they're just trying to write an interesting stuff because there are historical events where people who, at the very least, our historical knowledge puts them as women, dressed up as men and fought. And
yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's possible for things to exist as a actual theme in a story that are outside the intentions of the author.
Yes,
yeah,
that is also true. But
although,
go on.
Although, if you want a real transality, go with Left Hand of Darkness. So there's always that. Ursula K. Le Guin was an ally long before we knew that was a term.
The worst director was an ally.
Ed Wood.
Yeah, Ed Wood was an ally, and made a film about transitioning and whatnot. Although not like the best.
Glenn or Glenda, although at the end he's cured. Although at the end Glenn is cured.
Yeah, like that's problematic. So maybe not completely, but at the very least a little bit more aware of life than most people at the time. Although then again, you see stuff and it's just like, how did that go under the radar for like everyone past that bit? How did that person transitioning, like there's two different people mentioned in the recent documentary.
Disclosure.
Yeah. There's like two.
I'm just here for the names.
No, you know a fair amount of stuff. I mean, Disclosure is like a really good film for finding that stuff. But I was going to try and move stuff back to some of the outside of just the allegories. They're different. There's more than just realizing allegories and the egg, hatchling, phoenix, bird, yeah, terminology. Obviously there's the darker side. The true scum is the term, the shorthand term for trans people who trans medicalists are often called that, and mostly I feel like with a lot of these terms I hear it most in the trans community, or maybe I've just been on trans Twitter too long and I haven't seen outside of that for a bit. But I like I said, I'm not as familiar with all the aspects of that, if anything, outside of the fact that's transmedicalism means that you're not. It's basically people considering you not trans unless you have made all the effort to transition to a binary woman in every medical way possible.
I'm going to say something weird now. I actually sometimes feel bad that I am very binary.
Oh, don't. Yeah, no. See, that's the negative part of trans Twitter, because there's some people who say bad things and make trans people feel like they're not welcome if they're straight, or not welcome if they're actually binary or whatnot.
Well, I'm definitely not straight, but I'm I'm binary. I'm sorry.
No, don't be. No, like any that shit is like, yeah. I
Well,
don't
there's an underlying assumption that if I say I'm binary, that I am also saying I am Jew scum, which is weird, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I,
Yeah, that's me. You do you.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it is with identity. Like, people identify themselves. It's not up to you to determine who's got polyamorous feelings, even if they're in a monogamous relationship at the moment. Like, it's not up to you to determine that monogamy is inherently bad or good. It just is. Or polyamory is bad or good inherently. Like, it just is.
No, I'm terribly monogamous too.
Oh yeah. You see, this is the thing. We should be opposites and arguing with each other, but we're just supporting each other. It's the it's this weird thing where we're being reasonable people. Huh.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I mean, and it's not. Yeah. Experiments in polyamory as I've lived my strange existence.
Yeah, that's fine.
It didn't work, and
yeah.
and because it's not a. I don't get jealous. It's not. I actually don't get jealous. It's a very strange thing, but I'm very dedicated to one person at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas,
which is less. It didn't work. It didn't work for you.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, different people have different feelings and different just about that stuff, and I think it's not good if you're in a marginalized community and you're making the same sorts of arguments as your oppressors.
Just on the side note, although sexuality is one of those things, I talked to my mom about this a couple of weeks ago, and I said, one of the things I can thank you for at least is that when it was clear I was bisexual, you didn't even tell me there was a word for it or that it was a bad thing. Because I didn't even know there was a word for it. I just thought it was my thing. Until late 70s, early 80s, they used to say you have to choose, which is not a thing.
Yeah, I saw that recently. Someone brought that back up just to show how the same art. It's one of those things where there were transphobic arguments, and they're doing the same sorts of arguments as the anti-bisexual stuff.
Oh yeah, but the funny thing, Siren, who was my kid, who has been on here, knocked on my door a couple of years ago and said, "Would it make you?" And said, and just hesitated for a second and said, "Would it make you mad if I said I was pansexual?" I said, "Would it freak you out if I told you I was too?"
Welcome to adulthood.
Yeah.
What else was I going to answer to that? It's like, Yeah, it could do the platitudinous. I'll support you whatever you choose, which I hate whatever you choose at the end of that. But
Yeah, like it should be support you however you are. Like,
yeah,
Whatever you discover.
yeah, whatever just you discover about yourself.
but in this case, it was sort of, you know, and when he came out as trans, it was like the only reason I freaked out is because I was like, okay, if my kid can do this, this is, you know, it's time. It's getting to be time. Might.
Yeah.
Sorry, my kid came out trans, and I met my long-term companion on the same day. So
I wonder how common it is for a trans person to have trans kids. I have to recognize that the kids of a trans person are going to view that much more readily as an option, though I understand that that really wasn't the case here. But so I mean, that would be just revealing somebody they were trans anyway, the kid was.
yeah.
They just might not have spent more time being confused, possibly their whole life, by not seeing it as a real option. But that wouldn't change the fact that they were. So there'd be some more chance of revealing it, but it seems it would be low probability anyway, just on the probability scale. Simply, there aren't statistically a lot of trans people.
Yeah.
Someone like me who is intersex is, well, obviously I'm gonna have, if I'm fertile at all, which I'm barely, well, I'm not now, but which I was barely, with, you know, 2 kids 19 years apart. An intersex person, it's CDC estimates, because they don't know how many people are XX males or XY females, because unless it's a problem, it never comes up. And I had a genetic thing that I had to check for, which is the first time I found out. I was already well into transition when I found out.
Yeah.
The chances are about 50% that someone with an intersex condition that manages to be fertile, it's about 50% estimated by CDC that they will be one of the children will be trans.
Okay, but that's that's getting hyper specific. I was just looking for a more generalized. I mean, you know a broader section of the trans community than I do.
Yes.
And just on a broad estimate of, people, I'm just going, it seems like it would be a very specific thing. And I'm wondering how common that is. That was just, I have no estimate myself on it.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
can
it's
tell you
hard to have an estimate on it because there's only so much documentation.
Yeah.
It is, how much is an estimate? Siblings are obviously more likely to be trans, since we were just talking about Lily and Lana Wachowski.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I think there's a genetic component.
See, that would be one of the things, if that would be who I would go to and say, because they'd have that statistic, because they'd be going, that would be part of an indication that it might have a genetic component. If somebody's doing any research in that area, that'd be what to look for.
Yeah.
Anybody
Although
doing papers on that?
although it's a bit more complicated than that, because I think that would just be potential genetic component is likely just uh, the 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 related to the part where transitioning, or where hormones and other medical intervention is necessary. I think the other aspects of being trans are a bit more complicated, which is part of the reason why trans medicalists are like, well, it's not necessarily the exact same experience, so
No, and it isn't, and that's fine.
yeah.
I won't deny someone else's experience just because I have my own.
Yeah.
I mean, Siren is I think binary. I'm pretty sure. Just took his first testosterone shot last week. Yay.
Perhaps my mentally lumping it all together might also be causing a problem with it. I don't know. I mean, it would non-binary be a separate thing?
Well,
or
the
I mean,
connecting factor is the fact that involves gender, not the one that's assigned at birth.
Yeah.
So like that factor fits into all of the trans experiences, because that's that's the descriptor. So
yeah,
it's a broad descriptor, which is fine. And you can talk about different experiences. One of the things, physical dysphoria and physical euphoria are brought up a fair amount. I don't know if they're always described that way, but like I describe them that way.
Well, gender euphoria is a fairly new term, which I'm very pleased by, because first time I took the Spiro, a few days later, my brain was saying, "Oh, hello, you're doing your things are right now," and I took when I put on the estrogen, it was, oh, things are good now.
Yeah, and
as somebody who has pitched their tent on the edge of the trans camp, I think that trans culture needs to get organized and put together like a Google Doc with up-to-date and current lingo that somebody can go look at and find out what each of these things means.
Yeah, if it hasn't already been done, I just don't remember where the document is.
Well, everybody,
it needs to be easy to find too. That's, I guess.
Okay, let's put it this way. One of the things that happened to me was being a gray-haired person. My hair came in with a lot lighter, but it's my original color. Just trying to research how common that is on hormones was ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, and I hear it talked a bunch about height dropping by like a couple inches or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a
On
tiny bit
hormones.
shorter.
And same with feet size changing. Neither of which happened to me, and I don't know other people's.
Yeah, my feet are smaller. I have shoes I got right when I was coming out, and they fit me now that they didn't then.
Yeah, whereas my feet have stayed at my feet and height have stayed around the same height or the same size.
I'm a tiniest bit shorter, but that may be just because my hair goes down now instead of up.
I don't know. And that's the thing. It's hard to know when there's so much not well documented.
No, it's just now really starting to be documented. Unfortunately, I've pointed some people to the intersex information I was telling you about that I got from the CDC. I pointed some people to that, and it's been scrubbed from the CDC website because Trump. Thank you. And people go, well, why would it be on the CDC anyway? I'm like, just it's in the CDC. That's where I found it. How did I put it? Gino's Pizza doesn't serve subs, obviously.
They don't serve submissive people.
Because they were, what is being trans have to do with it's not. It's like you're narrow viewed on everything, aren't you?
Well, yeah, but I mean, also, it's, yeah, some stuff is just, some stuff still said a bunch. Like the, I'm gay thing. That's like a running meme on trans Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it's no. What I'm saying is like, if I find the information on the CDC, which it's just the CDC and the NIH are run by different or run differently, and they have different people to report to. The information on trans was at the CDC and some turf. I used the word now. Now we'll be demonetized from the money we don't get.
It's fine. We weren't monetized anyways.
I think we can bear that lash.
When I talked about because the number for the intersex who are semi-fertile is 1 in 122,000, and they had a lot of the numbers on the chances. All of this information that I just said a little while ago, I got off the CDC website. And there's a lot of things about saying they're estimating because unless it's a problem, people don't know.
Because you don't check the genetics of every single person that you come across.
Yeah. And
you can't
the
check
question
it by eyesight as much as the trans exclusionary radical feminists would suggest.
the person said why would it be at the Center for Disease Control? Are you saying trans is a disease? I'm like, no. That's when I put out it's like Gino's Pizza doesn't serve subs, is what you're saying, man. It's not just about disease, it's about a lot of health issues. but it's not there anymore, so it doesn't really fucking matter. Because Trump.
Yeah.
See, I used to love the CDC because I used to the anti-vaxxers, and I just explain how vaccines work, and let's go to the CDC. We can look at it and so on. All that information is gone. Can't go to the CDC for that stuff. Vaccines and health risks involved with them, and so on, and the likelihood of the disease itself, and all that information is now gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
No longer part of the public.
Yeah. More glory to the NIH. What's left of, well, if somebody at the NIH was smart, they would have done a site poll as soon as it was announced, because Trump was very loud about announcing that he was taking shit off the CDC.
Yeah, I mean, Trump loudly announces a lot.
Yeah, and then people have to do it. It's like passing whims become law.
Yeah, but aside from that, there's a couple of other things. Obviously, anyone trans who's on Twitter is obviously aware of it. It's the mixture of the hit and miss, not hit and miss, the benefits and detriments of being on trans Twitter, because there's all the hate, but there's the tight-knit community. And there's a lot of help and support as well.
Yeah, mostly. There's a fair amount of bad information, which I don't want to. I feel weird pointing out. I mean, I feel weird about a lot of stuff about trans Twitter, but I'm glad I found a community. Yes, I was on trans Twitter. I gather a lot of trans friends in real life, and I already had a fair amount of trans friends, but I gathered more. And I joined trans Twitter before I came out too. So, or joined. You don't really join it. You just sort of. Why am I subbed to so many?
Well, see, what happens is you end up with a Follow Friday chain, which I ignore half the time nowadays. Anyways, you end up with a chain, and then you follow everyone on it, and then some of the people turn out to be terrible people, and then you're like, I need to actually look before following some people. But yeah, there's a lot of desire and also pressure to try to follow everyone else who's trans on Twitter.
There is, and there is bad information, but the problem is information is really hard to come by, as I was saying. Just public information at the very least, and even, I mean, the place I go downtown, and again, Buffalo's a fairly trans-friendly city and has a slightly larger population of trans people than most places. Just because people move here for whatever reason. Because it's the statue of General Pulaski downtown.
I don't know who that is, actually.
He was a trans man or trans person in the Revolution.
Gotcha.
Look up General Pulaski. It's pretty interesting. They're trying to figure out whether they were trans or intersex. So,
or sometimes, or maybe both.
Or maybe both. That is
it's always
possible.
existed. But I mean, the world was really much more open to it as a possibility than a lot of people think.
Yeah.
And that, people are like, like with Ed Wood and things like that, they're like, what do you mean he was cross-dressing? Yes, he was cross-dressing. Everybody knew he was cross-dressing. Nobody had a problem with it. What do you mean? What do you mean? And that
Well,
there were, and as you go back in history, that there's a lot of indications that there were a lot of people who were trans, who were just part of history, and people just accepted that they were a little different.
Well, I can't remember her name, but the woman who got the what they called the sex change back then, was a celebrity. The first American woman to publicly have the sex change. There were actually a few before her. And I mean, she was quite the celebrity pre-McCarthy. So,
yeah.
We've had a gay president, which is not Lincoln. It was Buchanan. Lincoln's popular. Buchanan's not. But Buchanan was gay. So.
Buchanan?
Yeah.
The one who had the previous president's wife stay over to be the sit at the table as the hostess and so
yes.
on. Yeah.
But they called his boyfriend Mrs. Buchanan. It was just a thing.
Yeah, although I don't know if that's some of it. I get the impression it depended on class, how accepted it is.
Yeah, still does.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true.
I mean, there's a reason Caitlyn Jenner became famous and all the trans women before her did not.
Yeah.
Or became, well.
I mean, she was famous. She maintained her famousness, and being trans didn't stop that.
And it was lauded, yes. And yeah, there was a lot.
But yeah, I think with any sort of community platform, misinformation is a thing that happens.
Oh, yeah, I wandered so far in my paragraph there. I went to General Pulaski, which is not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go back to our trans health center thing. They even they do not have as much information as they would like. They're still using a 20-year-old system, the WPATH system, which is more than 20 years old. Yeah. Except trans healthcare.
Yeah, except for the places that finally got informed consent.
Well, no. Well, the WPATH still, yes, informed consent is not necessarily not part. Well, okay, it's difficult. I mean, WPATH as far as what the trans healthcare is itself. Now, I wasn't talking about the mental part.
Well,
so you need something like trans Wikipedia is what you need. some sort of information exchange, where people can do, where trans people can edit entries themselves and so on, but somehow you need to limit it to trans people.
Well, yeah, but then if you're not careful, you end up with Susan's Place.
No idea what that is.
See, now we need that in the trans guide that I was talking about earlier.
What's Susan's Place?
Wait, you don't know what Susan's Place is? Okay, so
not a clue.
So this is a place that's a website, a forum-based website that was around in the early to. I mean, it's still technically around, but I was most aware of it in the early to mid 2000s. I mean, I was more aware of it closer to mid 2000s, but it tended to spout a lot closer to transmedicalist type descriptions of things, and there's a lot of older trans people who give advice that because it's outdated, it's like not good information.
Yeah,
but not yet hysterically funny. Yes, okay.
Because of my age, I do know a lot of older trans people, which their attitudes on several things. I have no truck with trans medicalists, and at least, but it's been it's also an education to talk to them because of the way they had to hide and how the lack of community and the more militant or not more militant, outwardly militant, inwardly militant. The groups were inwardly militant, as in you have to do everything this way. And it very much surprised me when my one friend who transitioned in the 90s, when we just went off for a slice, and I went to pick up something, and I apparently did not do it girly enough for her, and I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, because a lot of it was like about trying to undo masculine social conditioning or whatnot, and I definitely saw stuff like that on Susan's Place or whatnot. And honestly, it's a lot more doing things that way is a lot more stressful. Honestly, I acted more femininely when I just ignored all that and decided to just be myself, and then being myself caused me to act more femininely accidentally, or well, I mean, just because I'm me.
I don't get stage fright, but somebody my band played at the music festival last year, and somebody said, well, the show was good, you sounded good, but you still perform like a guy, and I'm like, what? And it freaked me out for like a month, and I started looking at girl bands to see what, and frankly, there isn't a difference. There really isn't much of a difference. Even the stance I use, because I have my left knee is bad. That's been since I was young. I got from Nancy Wilson, because for whatever reason it's a comfortable stance to put all the weight on one leg. And hold on a second, because that, well, you can't really see it from there, but darn it. Yeah, and then I watched a Bengals concert, and I was like, "No, fuck it." If what's her name, the one who got famous out of the Bengals, I can't remember.
I don't know.
Can do a kneeling split and do the licking the other person's guitar thing, then screw it. Something I was not expecting, I will say, when I watched the Bengals concert. But yeah, I was like, okay, how do I? This is probably the longest running girl group. Let's see what they do. So,
yeah.
What your guitarists do.
Yeah, so you get there's definitely that part of the community, though, that's because of society and like how stressful it is, and obviously not every trans person who's older has that attitude. I'm looking at one who doesn't have that attitude right now. At least not to the complete degree that you see in more transmedicalist type things, and it's very understandable. Like I was definitely close to that attitude, and there's definitely the attitude against the sort of attitude that being non-binary is a phase towards transitioning to fully going binary or whatnot. That attitude is definitely one, at the very least, I had for a bit.
I will say my test for coming out was saying I was gender fluid first.
Yeah, and that's a thing for testing the waters, but that's not like where it's a problem is when it's applied to everyone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me, I was just confused. That was not. But I don't think Nathaniel Vera is. Nathaniel / Vera is doing just fine for themselves. The Council of Geeks.
Yeah, and obviously I was one of the people who did the opposite, which happens because I was focused on fitting into the binary like a ton because transitioning's scary. And no, honestly, because I heard a lot of transitioning, or I didn't know that there was another option, really. And, like, I was focused on presenting as feminine as possible and passing and just trying to live a life that wasn't the weird life I was forced into. And so, yeah, it was very easy for me to focus on the binary more, and like even in terms of style, I focused mostly on like how will I pass in the future.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being myself. And once I started focusing on being myself, I'm a relatively feminine personality, like a lot of the time. But like Um, I mean, I feel agender like half the time, so it's like, but I didn't even like know about that stuff until recently, and I didn't know how to describe myself, and I didn't know how to deal with um, any of that, even though like it's it's just a lot of the forcing thing through shit. Like I did they them pronouns, or I focused a bit more on they them pronouns when I'm just like anything but being called a guy, and everyone and the people and like it's hard for me to see myself as a woman with all the binary cultural attitudes that I grew up with, and it's just um so I mean I get that. I totally get how like sometimes it's easier to take baby steps to try to cope with stuff, and to try to find something that you think people will actually do. Because I don't think I would have thought anyone would have called me she, or people would have been felt weird calling me she, before I started on hormones. At the very least, that was my attitude, and like I said, I wasn't very social.
My face has changed a lot, but that's not why I pass now. It's more attitudinal, I think.
Yeah.
If you think you pass, you pass. It was very nice going into the bank. You can actually go into banks now, which is cool. Although it was weird going into the bank with the mask on.
Although masks help if you're lazy and don't want to shave.
Yeah, but I was obsessive about shaving before I left the house anyway.
Well, yeah, I understand that. I just sometimes I get lazy and don't shave because because it's a pain, and yeah.
Yeah, it is. I had to hand up my card broke, and I had to hand it in, and the woman behind the counter, who had already ma'amed me, she looked at the card and looked at me and looked at the card and was like, and I said, I had an appointment to change my name, and it was at the end of March, so I wasn't able to do it. And she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, luckily my card, it actually has, my bank card was easier to get in my legal name than the fucking driver's license at the DMV. So I have a bank card that says Alexandria on it, but my driver's license does not. My social security card does. I brought the court document, which honestly should have been enough. It might have been like a transphobic DMV thing.
Yeah, because the DMV here was like, oh, okay, this is how you take care of all of this.
Yeah, because I had a court document that a sealed court document, like with the raised seal on it. It was like the official court document.
Nice. Yeah, our appointment, because Siren and I were gonna do the name change at the same time, and unfortunately they closed down. Like they closed down that office a week, 2 weeks before our appointment. So, oh well.
Yeah. Stuff. I want more lasers shot into my face. to get rid of the facial hair.
I want to do well. It's the one of the things also, and this is a binary thing, so or it. There are days when I just go, this, what the hell am I doing? This is not what I should be doing, and I don't feel particularly girly, but that's not. It's like, but how do you tell whether you feel girly or not?
Well, and also feeling girly is different from not feeling like a woman. Like, those are two different things, and it's so hard to. I mean, it's hard to explain, partially because to some degree we're playing things by ear because we kind of have to. And to some degree there are scientific facts, like, you know, gender affirming stuff is helpful at preventing suicidal ideation in people who are trans. Well, just gender affirming stuff in general is good for preventing suicidal ideation, even if you're not trans. As like the that one study, the person who they transition, there was some sort of circumcision problem or something. I can't remember. See, this is my problem. I don't remember the details of the study.
Yeah. That's a really long story, hard to get into right now. But yeah, that's tragic.
It is, but like, it's an example of. It's another example of, like, regardless of if you're cis or trans, like, your gender affirming attitudes is beneficial, and gender affirming surgery is also beneficial.
Well, I mean, my stepfather used to say, well, you're such a girl. I'm like, okay.
Seems he had a bit of a point.
Yeah, because going back over my diaries, which is also was very useful. And I didn't call them journals either, so that's a tip off. Going over my diaries, it's I came out to him, which I vaguely remember doing.
You just seem to, like, come out to everyone and then, like, go back in the closet and come out and go back in the closet. Which, actually, that's not that strange. That
I can't. Well, you know why I can't talk about it, but there's a specific reason why I took this down. And you know from private conversations why I can't talk about it. So.
Yes, maybe I may have forgotten the exact details.
Well, if I say it, then
don't
yeah.
say more. We can talk about it, like, off camera after the stream has ended and whatnot. But yeah, in terms of there's some humorous parts to trans culture as well, because, like, there's a running joke. Well, there's a few running jokes that are common in trans culture. One of them is the thing that secretly made you trans, because because of all the conservative stuff that's like, this makes people trans. This is why people are trans or whatnot. nothing
my
to do
favorite.
with reality or whatever.
This was my favorite superhero. That's what made me trans.
See, it's the thing that happened in your life that made you trans.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and obviously we don't think that like actually makes you trans. It's just
Yeah, it's just a joke.
But no, I'm saying that there are people who that they honestly that's
Oh
yes
yeah,
one of
yeah.
the things that they really do that. So I can see that being a running joke.
Yeah,
About
for me
If
it was the comic, the manga, Ranma in Half.
right, and reading that is see that's what made you trans.
Yeah, like it was about a guy who accidentally falls into the well of the drowned girl and transforms into a woman whenever he gets doused with cold water, and back into a guy if he gets doused with warm water.
there
Yeah,
was
that's it's but it's frequently yes. That's I'm that just I can see that being the joke because it's the whatever cathartic event caused you to realize that oh my god I'm trans.
Well,
That
that's even like a
is the thing that
retrospective.
made you trans.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
what did it to you.
Well, the thing is with that one, that's a retrospective because I didn't know I was trans until like uh uh 22, 21, 22, somewhere in there. Because I didn't have the language for it, and I didn't know much about that stuff, but like thinking
Diagnosing it
back,
in retrospect.
I was like, in retrospect, I read that and fantasized about falling into the same well, except never trying to turn back into a guy. But like, none of that seemed to tip me off to anything.
I can tell you the actual moment when I decided to come out because 5 minutes later I actually did come out to someone random. But it was meeting someone randomly that it at the end of it I gave her at the end of meeting her and talking to her for a minute I gave her a huge hug and she has no fucking idea why to this day, and I haven't been able to find out who she was because it was like, okay, there we are, I'm done, I got it, I understand. It's gonna take this time.
Yeah.
There are other things that kept me in that, but yeah, the thing that there was a gender swap anime porn game, and I just wanted to play the gender swap part of it.
Yeah, that definitely happened with me a bunch as well. Although,
And
I don't think I found an anime one, but yeah.
it was, yeah, well, there's a dark side to that having happened too. So, the yeah, I mean, if I can content warning here, my mother, the first question, I forgot the acronym. Damn it. CSA. Yeah. It's fine. It's sexual in nature.
Yeah, CSA. That sounds right. If it is what I think you are talking about, it sounds right.
Yeah, because this is something I also told you in private at one point. The first question my mother asked is it because you were raped as a kid? I'm like,
yeah,
no. My androgyny as part of then being a tiny queer kid is made me more of a target, which it was sort of the other way around. So
Yeah, and like you hear stories like that, and I'm just like, I never had anything like that happen to me. Like, I had a relatively normal childhood. I just am different.
well, what's wrong with you then?
But then what made you?
A lot
trans?
is wrong with me, but like, not in terms of what happened to me. Well, I mean, some stuff. I mean, I've had unpleasant stuff happen to me, but like, not that unpleasant. I'm the privileged trans person, but not ContraPoints level of privilege, but like privilege, regular levels of privilege.
The well,
Middle class levels of privileged.
What I turned around and said is, do you remember when I insisted on being in the Girl Scouts instead of the Boy Scouts, which is the thing I've said a lot. So that was.
I was upset that I didn't have more tea parties.
There is that too.
But like, to be fair, my parents were really
Hold on. Here we go.
We're always like quite liberal and didn't like force gender norms. So like, I played with Barbie dolls, and I did have tea parties. I just didn't feel like I had enough tea parties. That's the thing.
My sister, my late sister, who would have been completely unsurprised when it came out. I am certain of that. She left because she's my stepfather's first marriage stepsister, I guess. But my sister, we were very close. She left her Barbies at our house, so the unspoken thing was so I could play with them. So
that's really nice.
Yeah.
Me and my sisters played Barbie dolls. There was the evil Barbie doll. There was an official evil Barbie doll.
Was there?
In
Really?
our household, there was. It was the Barbie doll with weird lights on it. I want to say they sticked out the side of its neck. It was almost like Frankenstein monster type Barbie doll, and we're like, that's like the evil android Barbie doll who's I don't remember any of the evil plans. I remember more of the Land Before Time puppet things that we played with and made stories with.
Well, maybe me collecting Wonder Woman dolls should have tipped somebody off.
I mean, maybe.
There's
so many high school events that should have tipped me off. Like
this, by the way, my mom sent this to me about 3 weeks ago. So I just wanted to point that out. That's that particular one. That's why it has a place of honor right now.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, lots of people might have collected Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and there was the thing where I refused to. Oh, here's the thing that's talked about a lot in Transritter. because this is a common uh, are you an egg type thing? Is this person an egg type thing? The refusing to pick guys as the character you play if there's a choice, like absolutely refusing in all ways, like picking a woman or whatnot. And I realize it's different. There are two different reasons. There's the reason, the typical uh, cis guy reason, who is attracted to women, who puts themselves outside of the character and sees them just as a character and not necessarily as a person, and it's just like would rather stare at their ass or whatever. There is that thing. That's an actual reason people do that. Then there's the trans reason of just adamantly refusing and not having necessarily a good reason why, if you haven't like put a lot of thought into it, and you're just like, I just never want to pick the guy character. I always feel like the girl character fits me better, or whatever, fits what I want to do better. I enjoy it more if I pretend to be the woman video game character.
In a D&D game, I inherited a male character from somebody else, and who was moving, and I was on a waiting list, and she did transition by the end of the game.
That's awesome.
Just saying. So
yeah, that was always my once I came out as trans, I thought about a lot of World of Darkness stuff and about how I would want to try to get help from the vampire to pay for transitioning, because I'd be concerned that I wouldn't be able to transition after becoming a vampire. Which,
okay, that makes perfect sense.
I mean, it does. I really liked World of Darkness stuff. But I mean, even that, like, I always played a female character, like every single game. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I didn't have like a specific reason. I didn't really care about looking at the person's ass or whatever. I was just like, I just really want to play a female character, and I will not think any deeper than that. I actually usually went for the aesthetics reason argument, even if that argument didn't actually fit. I still went for it anyways. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things, and being one of the people I live with is my friend of 30 years now, and one of the things he said just the other day was, I never expected you to be trans. I just thought you were bisexual with a cross-dressing thing. I'm like, cross-dressing thing? Did I do that? I don't remember doing that part.
So, darn, that brings me to...
They thought they had you figured out.
That brings me to another high school thing where the thing was to wear something different that you don't normally do. Was the high school psych thing. It was a psych thing in one of my high school classes or whatnot, and at the very least, identified as a guy at the time, to my knowledge, wore a skirt. And I was so jealous of how good he looked in the skirt. But, like, definitely not. And I also thought way too much about, like, more men should wear dress-like things. Because then I have a reason to wear a dress-like thing. But, you know... it doesn't help that my only point of reference was like the World According to Garp and freak show type TV special.
Yeah, but I watched all of them.
I did not.
I know, I most certainly did. Well, there's lots of things. I mean, I'd always find the trans people around. I mean, the first time I kissed a trans person was in 86. So, 85.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of just people taking a while to find out. So there's also the trans thing, which there is mixed opinions of, for good reason. There's some people on trans Twitter, fantasize about other people possibly being trans. People who are no longer with us or whatnot, sometimes. A lot of times.
Yes.
And
that's the one I don't participate in.
Yeah, I don't. I try not to generally. Sometimes my mind goes to it. More so with, like, IRL people.
Okay, is there a term for this?
No, it's just people...
Transplanting?
That actually is a really good term. I kind of want to steal it now.
Okay.
Since I haven't been able to do it organically in here, one of the pieces of information that most trans people don't get is the boobs will grow like fingernails, like forever. So my friend who's now a C, though she transitioned years ago, is bringing me her bees, which is nice, and I put some kind of joke about, otherwise I'd have to, because I don't have a B. I have a couple of A's here, but I'm growing. But I put a joke in there that I'd have to hire if I were rich, I'd just hire somebody to, walk around with me and fold my boobs up. But it was a typo, and I put noobs, and she's like, and she thought that was a deliberate term for breasts that are just coming in, noobs. And I'm like, I would like to make it that. That is funny.
Sorry.
It was a typo, but I'll own it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know about that. Boobs are different for different people. Like if they're growing like fingernails for me, my fingernails must grow excessively slowly. Because I've been on hormone replacement therapy for 4 years, and the only reason my boobs look big at all is because this is a padded bra.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And they don't even look that big. I mean, there's a reason I'm going for breast augmentation. There's multiple reasons. I do like the idea of having bigger boobs, but like, just in terms of, as I lose weight, I lose boobs. Um, as happens with many women, if they lose weight, like it's all about.
Yeah.
It's more about current hormones, as far as I've ever known. So like, once you get your hormones settled out, they will grow to a certain size. It's like 2 to 5 years, and well, it's definitely 2 to 5 years for what information they have, which isn't necessarily the best always. But
it there can be a later. There can be from what I was researching, there can be later growth.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree that that's likely the case, and I've also heard people experience more after gender confirming surgery, because getting rid of the source of testosterone rather than suppressing it potentially has an effect on some people. But like, clearly, like, there are women with very small boobs, and it's there are a lot of factors. Boobs are weird. Boobs are a mystery. No one will ever understand boobs.
I will admit the one thing because the thing they tell you is it'll come in about one size smaller than your general family members, and so I bought a bunch of bras to prepare, because my sister and my mother and my biological sister. I have 3 sisters, but one's actually related to me.
I heard different, because I heard that it could be like any size, and basing off of that, because there's oftentimes not necessarily always the best information. Like, both my sisters have completely different boob sizes. My older sister has really small boobs.
Maybe the trans community
really
boobs. Maybe the trans community should get together and like make something like maybe a trans Wikipedia.
Yeah,
where people could share this sort of information.
Well, even the thing about the hair color, it surprised me, and when I tried to Google it, all I found was about 15 or 20 people asking if it was normal.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, it's got to be some kind of normal if 15 or 20 people are asking.
If you've got people asking if it's normal, then maybe they are experiencing it too.
Yeah, it's like my hair's growing, my hair color's growing, and the hair's it's a slightly different color, but I
mean, even if they were asking because it didn't happen for them, that means they at least had an expectation that it would happen for them, and that has to have come from somewhere.
Yeah, my hair was my hair was still very, very short when I started the hormones. So. As one can see, and yes, it was dyed.
Yeah,
and then I never dyed it again because I didn't need to.
Yeah, and then like, different people have different experience in terms of how much hair line recovers, how much, just all this stuff. It's almost like people are different and have various different genetics and have various different effects from hormones for any number of reasons.
Is that you're saying? All trans people are not homogenous?
Yeah, it's like we're people and we're different people, and sometimes we disagree on things.
Yes, but but at least trans people are speaking with one voice that we want to be people.
Yeah. The internet is a great thing.
And a terrible thing, but also a great thing.
I don't think with
it's a cesspool to walk through, but it's a great thing.
I'm amazed at how many people I followed. I subbed to on YouTube, came out as trans at some point or another. That was, well, okay, Natalie didn't surprise me at all, but
yeah, that's still funny that you knew her before she transitioned.
yeah, but but yeah, finding a community was necessary, and finding, I mean, it's terrifying to do this for some people, and especially someone, well, not especially, everybody has their own things, and I deal with a lot of people that are 18, 19 that are scared shitless to come out. I know at least 2 people in the military, and now someone's gonna knock on my door and ask who. You know, that are just waiting to get out of the military so they can come out.
Yeah, there are people in the military who there are people everywhere. Because people are trying to live their life to the best of their ability. I mean, there's some. There is a general. There's a common experience of trying to pretend to be more masculine than you are,
or more feminine in the case of trans men. We keep leaving out trans men, so
yeah, I shouldn't. That's also far too common. Here's the thing on trans Twitter. Sometimes there's generalized statements that go out, and saying all men are bastards, kind of like, I realize that they don't mean all men are bastards, but if you look at that, it's kind of like, that's really kind of shitting on trans men. And there's statements also about trans men being at a greater risk than trans women or trans men being at greater risk because they're men of having toxic masculinity or whatever. But like, ascribing to those views, you can be a man or a woman. Like, it's just, and then you don't necessarily hear about all that many trans men on the internet, and so it's easy to feel. I mean, there's plenty of trans men who feel like they've been silenced, and there's plenty of.
Yeah, and as far as toxic masculinity, if I don't get a hug from my friend more soon, I'm gonna fall apart. We don't get to. We're still sort of on lockdown here, so but yeah, and who's a trans man? my,
Um,
my friend.
yeah, and I mean, I need to talk with fuck, it's been forever since I've talked with Felix. Um, but yeah, there is, yeah, there's some attitudes that aren't necessary. Like even if they don't intend to be harmful or they don't intend to, because most of the time people who are saying all men are bastards are not trying to actually shit on all men, but like it is, yeah, like it's easy for that to feel like a punch in the gut, stab in the kidney, something like that. Like it's just it just the first instinct is to be that's it, like trans men are men, and it's easy for them to feel attacked when you're just like all men suck.
Yeah. The well, we do need to get more trans men on here.
Yeah, I know. Like we had the worst luck with um, uh, Quinn and another person. It's like dealing with surgery stuff that we tried to get on, and it's just like one person didn't respond back. Like I need to go out and contact more trans men because their voice needs to be heard.
They
And
one of the
obviously, your son was on here before, so.
yes.
But that's the
Yeah.
only trans man we've had on here so far, and that's far too few. We're on episode 31. We should have had trans men on here earlier, and I deal with the scheduling, so I'm just beating myself up out loud.
It's fine. One of the things I noticed that because you've talked about trans Twitter a lot is that I was following only women, trans women, and when I dove into the corner of trans men on Twitter, they're feeling left out of the
Yeah,
conversation, and it's not right, and that's one of the reasons why I've been pushing it. It actually has very little to do with science.
um, yeah,
uh,
and well, I mean that's why I was pushing it, wanted to push it too, because like it's, um, I mean um see, I also have similar problems when sometimes trans Twitter gets a little excessively tight knit and wants to solve everything that's negatively affecting trans people with only trans people, and only trans people can be trusted, and um that sort of attitude, which, like, on the one hand I get, because there are a lot of um there are, well, it's not even like necessarily a lot, there are enough loud, powerful, um uh shitty cis het people out there, cis het dudes out there, um and like, yeah, it's scary, but like, obviously not all cis people are bad. And like, realistically, we need allies. We need genuine allies, and the allies are not necessarily the allies. I would pretty much exclusively not consider to be chasers, because if they're true allies, if they're genuinely fighting for our rights, they're not just doing it because they think we're a sex object or whatnot.
Yeah, I would say that the trans community needs shaky hesitant allies who are just there because they're going, well, yeah, it's a human rights issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, people not like shouting about being allies. They're just like actually just fighting for the rights and helping out how
just
they
going,
feel
it's
like
a human
helping
rights
out.
issue, and that's why I'm here. And
Yeah.
I have said in the future I'd only like to date other trans people because there's a lot you don't have to explain. But I think the last two people the last two people I saw were cis people. So there you go.
The person I'm the person I'm long distance dating who lives in another state. She's a cis woman, but she's definitely an ally. She dates women exclusively, cis or trans, like women. So like, that's nice. It, and she doesn't necessarily know everything that goes on trans Twitter. It's nice to mention that to someone who doesn't know. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that a bunch. I told her about Buck Angel recently.
Dear.
oh my, yeah.
Well, yeah, but because she had a shitty ex-girlfriend who, fought against the patriarchy and I forgot what else. It was just things that Buck Angel at the very least is on the surface done. It was something relating to the BDSM community and things that Buck Angel has dealt with poorly and dickishly, but it was just like example. Buck Angel is just a really good example of someone who fit those categories and was still a total shithead. And it's just, it was nice to know that it was nice for her to feel like she wasn't going crazy about her experience. And Buck Angel definitely was it was definitely at the very least an emotionally abusive action for Buck Angel to out everything about his ex-wife in terms of private BDSM related stuff onto paper.
And since we're coming near the end,
yeah,
it'll bring it all around because he's the one who outed Lana Wachowski.
Yes, which I also mentioned.
That brings it full circle here.
Back to trans culture. But I mean, this is what. Yeah, and yeah, I do not like Buck Angel.
See, that also should be part of the trans wiki.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know a trans girl who fucked him. So, there's that.
You know, like a lot of people. You know everyone. You know more people than me in the trans community, I feel like. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but probably.
No, I just know
the famous ones.
No, I don't know the famous ones. I've been around longer, that's all.
Well, that's true.
And I've been on the periphery of, I've been in queer culture for my whole life. I never quite went away from it, but
Yeah.
So these are not. So trans people were part of queer culture always until.
Yeah.
It's complicated, and we don't have the time to get into how.
No, we don't.
Got fucked up.
We are wrapping up. Because it's the fastest. Perfict. Where can you be found?
I can be found in the Rumpus Room, a Discord channel, which will be in the doobly-doo. And I'm here every week.
Yeah. I'll go next. I'll leave the best for last.
I am not the best right now.
I can be found Ozma in the Dark just about anywhere. I'm talking to nothing. Sorry, on Twitter, which is talking to nothing minus the G. I am currently working. I still need to do the Les Mis thing right now. I'm somewhat bogged down by life-related stuff. Recently, something about trying to find low-income housing and get back, at the very least, get back on general assistance, and also deal with disability stuff, and also try to check up about appointments and see when I can get the lasers, the pre-surgery laser stuff, stuff like that. Just life has bogged me down, but I still want to. Hopefully, I will try to get at the very least the prologue of Les Mis sung out with a lot of swearing, because I promised Twitter and I still refuse to go back on that promise.
Well, at least.
How about you, Christy? Where can people find you, and what are you working on?
If the link below doesn't work, I'm finding out that it's working. It's not working for everybody, so I'm not sure why.
I can check it, and then
I mean, you could
fix it on everything.
You could use the official name of the channel, but again, I made the channel. I made the channel in 2010 when I was an angry atheist. So just look up Christy Abbey on YouTube. I'm there. I interview people. I think my guests are awesome, and so I've been very lucky with that. I'm on Twitter at Normality Quake. Normality like something I've never experienced, and Quake like an earthquake, because I also got my Twitter account when I was still an angry atheist and really full of myself. Ricto Ratio is actually the official name of my YouTube channel, which is very full of myself name. So I'm still. I talked to Siren, and we are going back to doing the writing, and personal life stuff got in the way, and I am finally no longer just a temporary guest here. I was admitted yesterday that I was never leaving, so basically they promised not to hold the you're just a guest in this house thing over me. So I am now officially not homeless anymore.
Oh.
Which is sweet.
Yeah.
Wait, so with because you've talked about this before, like there's a difference between being homeless and without a home.
Being homeless and being shelterless.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah. So would that make me Well, no, because I do pay part of rent.
Yeah, so do I.
Oh, okay. Does that make me homeless but not shelterless?
No, it's well. It depends. The people here, really quick. The people here who are, I mean, it's my ex-wife and her fiance, and I get that, and my son. I stayed here more for my son than them, but I've known my ex-wife's fiance longer than I've known her, so they felt the authority to tell me, to threaten to kick me out if I did something wrong, and that was always a go-to, and they kind of said, yeah, we know you're not going anywhere, so kind of promise not to do that any longer.
Yeah, whereas me, they're just they want me out really decently badly, but they're not going to kick me out into the streets.
Yeah.
So like, I don't even know. I mean, it'll get even more complicated when, because if I can't find a place before they start paying mortgages on a home, I will move into that home before moving into the other place, and then whatever. Then that'll feel even more like that. That will probably feel more like homeless, but not shelterless.
Well, yeah, it's tricky. The definitions can get tricky.
Yeah.
I fully expected I was going to be out of here a while ago, so things didn't work out.
Yeah, I remember that.
For reasons.
Anyways, sorry, I interrupted you, and you were talking about stuff. I just got really distracted by that. Sorry.
Oh, I most of this last month, except for this last month or so, has been stuff that I already had in the can because I was depressed and I didn't want to do anything, and then I got sick, and because I always get sick at the end of really bad depression, and so Callum's is going up this week because that was the last one that was in the can, and it really needs to go up before it gets stale. Callum's my second attempt at interviewing Callum is there will be a third attempt. I will eventually interview. Get a proper interview. But yeah, Siren and I are going back to work on both of our personal lives, had other stuff going back to work together, writing some new stuff, and I won't talk about much of it. Yeah.
So is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then next week, assuming that we aren't cursed by the deities of scheduling, we will have Labor Kyle on, who we tried to get on earlier, but there is a personal event that prevented him from being able to get on that episode. So that should be a fun episode. And yeah. The ending thing. You had the better ending thing. I forget your ending thing every single week. I swear, I will remember it. One of these days, I will remember your ending thing. Something about you mattering.
Your life matters, your voice matters, and you matter.
Yes. And with that, bye.
Peace.